This is my vlog on the ancillary tasks and some research of the codes and conventions of film posters and film reviews, which are the two ancillary task pieces I'm going to do. So, because the codes and conventions of, let's start with film posters. I looked on Google Images, looked at some films that I know, films that I like, and I looked at comedy films, mostly the comedy films that I like, because those are the ones I know, and I'm not too versed in all the comedy films, and I'm sure there are plenty. But they tend to have a large image, usually of the main character or so. So, for example, the film Ted, as I used an earlier example in another vlog, there's a picture of the main character whose name I can't remember, and Ted, and they're at urinals, and that's pretty comical because it's toilet and it's toilet humour, which gets a little kind of giggle out of everyone, and that's quite good. It also has the names of every film title will have the title of the film to let everyone know what film it is, and usually they have the director if the director's famous enough, which they usually are, because you don't get too many small directors that have film posters and whatnot made for them. It usually also has any big actors in it, so for example if Brad Pitt was in a film, say World War Z, then World War Z would have plastered Brad Pitt on all their posters because Brad Pitt makes a lot of money because he's a famous actor, and the use of this would attract more people to watch it because they might want to see, ooh, Brad Pitt, I like him, better go watch that film because it's got Brad Pitt in it. This does work for a director, so for example James Cameron with the film Avatar. James Cameron being very famous for the Alien films and all kinds of films, really. So if people see James Cameron on the poster for Avatar and they think, oh, James Cameron, I like films he's done, this should be a very good film, I need to go watch this. So both the names of the actors and the directors can attract a large audience. Also, the image used is usually very simple, as like with Ted, for example. It was just two guys at urinals. Simple as. In Avatar, there's just the picture of half of the woman, the blue lady's face, and that kind of thing. Having a very simple image adds an enigma to it, because you don't know. Say for example, if it's like half an image with the Avatar poster, then you don't know fully what to expect, why this person is blue, what's going on, who they are, all kinds of things. And so it can add enigma, it can be really simplistic, it can make the poster look better. So if you have a poster full of like explosions and everything, the entire page is filled with stuff, then it might not look too appealing, it might just look like a mess on a page. But if it's a simple thing, so say, with my film poster idea, I had an idea of, mostly I got the idea from Avatar actually, because there was a close-up of a face. So I was thinking, close-up of my actor's face with a carrot reflected in one eye, and that would create enigma, because why is there a carrot in his eye? Although that kind of be explained by the name Carrot Crunch, because it's always has something to do with carrots if it's called carrot and there's carrots on the poster. But anyway, back to the codes and conventions of film posters. They might also have a famous film quote on the poster, or a quote that they know will be famous if the film hasn't actually been out yet. And so for example, with the Star Wars films, might be a quote from Darth Vader like, I am your father, or something. Or something along those lines, a famous quote that everyone knows from the film, or will know from the film. And that can be used to attract more viewers, because people might either understand the quote and maybe recommend it to their friends. Like, say I went to see Star Wars a week or so earlier than my friend did, and my friend wasn't sure if they wanted to go see it. I might say, hey, you should go see that, it's a good film. And they might go and see it because I recommended it to them. And I only recommended it because I saw the film quote, and my friend might not have gotten it, so say I quoted it at him and he was like, what? And so on and so forth. There'll also be release dates for the film, so everyone knows when it's coming out, because if you don't tell them when it's coming out, they can't really plan to go see it. And there could also be any awards that it's won. So I've seen on some Lord of the Rings posters, like 6 BAFTAs or Oscars, Oscars, and it'll say some awards that it's won, and this can attract people because they might see, oh, I got all these awards, it must be a really good film, I've got to go see it. But the image itself will be very simple usually. There might be some dynamic background, or it might be just a plain block color background, which can be equally effective because it leaves it makes what's actually there stand out more than if you had explosion and stuff in the background, and that might take away from the actual image that you want to show. There may be main villains. There might be something like you have a poster on one side. There's like half of the main character's face, or main good guy's face, and then on the other side there's half the main bad guy's face, and in the middle it could have something about them being against each other or some such thing. And it's pretty much always edited to, usually in Photoshop, to, add some effect to it that's not usually there, like extra colouring, extra lighting, or in my case it would be a carrot in the eye. But that's the codes and conventions of a film poster. For a film review, it's you start off with a short plot outline, usually 2 to 3 lines long. It's not very long, usually just kind of as if the film was a book and you're writing the blurb of it, but a very short blurb, and just kind of outlining the beginning of the film so you don't spoil anything, and pardon me, just a very brief outline of what kinds of things you can expect. So if it's an action film, you say something about lots of action from the get-go, or whether it's slow-paced but worth it, or such a thing. Sometimes if there's a film which has a specific problem with it, or say you watch a film and you don't like a specific thing about it. So for example, you might watch The Great Gatsby and you might complain that it doesn't follow the book properly, so it doesn't go into enough depth about Gatsby himself. You might talk about how there's too much bright lighting and glitter and party on everything, when there's supposed to be kind of a deeper side to it as well, not just parties, but the director chose to just put parties in it instead. Sometimes with film reviews it's quite fun to, it's good to add some comedy to it. So you might, take the mickey out of a certain part. So for example, if you were writing a film review on Pacific Rim, you might question why they built these giant robots to fight giant aliens when they could fire missiles at the giant aliens rather than build a giant robot, which would obviously be a lot harder to use, more expensive, generally worse. But you could challenge the common sense of the film, something like that, but nothing too offensive, because there's no real reason to start bullying the director about how bad their film was, because no one wants to read reviews just shouting abuse at someone, because that doesn't make a review. So you have to be balanced, but you can also have your own opinion, but you have to be kind of balanced about it. So you can't just say, hate this film, it was rubbish, never go see it. You kind of have to say, you have to justify what was wrong with it, what was good about it. You can talk about actors and directors, or actors and the director, or I suppose you get more than one, but anyway, you talk about if this actor performed well. So for example, in the film Taken, you might talk about Liam Neeson being chosen because he's supposed to be a very generic American guy, but he's got a very strong Irish accent, so they could have probably made a better choice for who to have in that, because Irish guy acting as an American when he obviously has an Irish accent doesn't really add up. So you could do that kind of thing. For example, also Leonardo DiCaprio, you could say he's a good choice for Gatsby and The Great Gatsby because he actually seemed to understand the depth of the character rather than, say, for the director he just kind of threw parties at everything, but Leonardo DiCaprio actually understood what it was his character was, to an extent, what his character was thinking and feeling at these moments, and thus he can give a better performance on it. You don't just mention the generic film side itself that the audience will think about, but you also talk about some of the lighting, the sound effects, that kind of thing. Camera work, that's the way we want. You can talk about what kind of an impact they have on the film, so whether it's good or not. So, for example, in the Hunger Games, you could talk about how they use a handheld camera rather than a camera on tripod or like a dolly or something. But you talk about how the handheld camera you have an action effect to it, because there's all the just on about for being in someone's hand, which could fit the film. Fits the film better in the Hunger Games because it's just a bunch of kids running around the woods trying to kill each other, because that's what they have to do. But they also use it to hide the gory violence. So say when the dog things maul that guy, they kind of just show his hand flailing in the air, and kind of classic sci-fi death, I think it is. But they cut away from the gore, but because it's a handheld camera and the way it moves and kind of weaves, you can it kind of makes you feel like you saw more than you did. So you might feel like you saw the action, the gore and all that, when the camera actually just maneuvered around it to keep it to a certain age rating. So want to keep the Hunger Games for 15, 16-year-olds. So they want to make it 18-year-old and plus, because so they had to keep that on the gore, because the gore would be, well, too much for younger children or younger teenagers. Also, you shouldn't just mention any bad points about the film, like the glitter and stuff and Greg Gatsby. We should mention what's really good about the film, if there is a thing that shines out, because in some films there's just not, but if there is, then you should talk about it. So, for example, in Life of Pi, then you can talk about the special effects, the way that the director used the ocean as a kind of mirror for the sky, and all these special effects, and like the bit with the whale when it comes out, and it's all blue, and it looks pretty magical. But you can talk about that and other films, any strong point that they have, or vice versa. If a film has a really weak point, then you can talk about that. Just don't be too one-sided, because if you're too one-sided, then it's not an interesting review. Because if someone has a different opinion than you, then the review doesn't appeal or apply to them at all. So you have to have your review apply to both sides of the argument, but keep your own opinion in it, if that makes any sense. But that is my vlog on the codes and conventions of the ancillary tasks of a film poster and film review. Thanks.